On the line with us now is Jeff Garcia. He is the lead Spurs writer for News 4 San Antonio. He's here with us to talk about what else. Kawhi Leonard. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. And it looks like Kawhi Leonard is all the buzz right now, especially in Philly.
Yeah, Philadelphia is at the forefront. But let's start at the beginning, Jeff. How did we get here? What happened with the Spurs and Kawhi, and who, if anyone, is at fault?
Yeah, when you look at the situation, both are to blame. All right. But in this situation, I think Kawhi Leonard himself has most of the blame in this situation. All he has to do is contact you, Brian, and just tell you, hey, I'm in or I'm out. Simple as that. And this thing is over. But he doesn't do that. This is a situation where the Spurs have history of handling these type of things in-house. LaMarcus Aldridge is a prime example. He wanted out. He was disgruntled. He didn't like his role. Pop talked to him behind closed doors, and something got done. Spurs did the same thing with Tim Duncan. They did the same thing with a few other players. But this is kind of boiled over. You're dealing with a different person here. This is not LaMarcus Aldridge. This is not Tim Duncan. This is Kawhi Leonard. He is of a different tree. And when you have a young guy like him getting reportedly pulled by his uncle and his camp and do this and do that, and rumors and murmurs of him not liking the market in San Antonio, wants to go to L.A., and he wants a shoe deal. This is going to bubble over. Now, at the end of the day, the situation needs to be resolved ASAP. If he's going to stay, great, kiss and make up, let's move on. If he's going to be gone, then get rid of him and trade him now. Why? Because the last thing this team needs is to have a distraction heading into preseason, training camp, what have you. Look, one thing that I am upset about with the Spurs now is where they're to blame is the fact that they're asking a little bit too much, in my opinion. So I get it. I get why your Sixers don't want to give up the haul for a player who could be a one-and-done guy. I totally get that. If the Spurs really want to make something happen, all they got to do is talk to Philly, L.A., whichever team, pick a team, Clippers, Lakers, Boston, whoever's in the mix that we don't know yet.
So what do the Spurs want? Do they want to move Kawhi, or do they want to rectify the situation, bring him back, and hopefully sign him long-term?
At the end of the day, I think they want to try to rectify the situation, and that's why you haven't heard any type of major rumbling regarding Kawhi going to fill-in-the-blank NBA team. Because I think the Spurs like the fact that it's taking long. I think the Spurs like the fact that this is dragging out. It's like when you get in an argument with your girlfriend, and the longer you drag it out, she's gonna basically just forget it. Let's move on.
Yeah, but if she's leaving you, no matter what, you got to eventually get back into the dating pool. And I think the Spurs are at a crossroads here. So what are they looking for in return from, say, Philadelphia?
Oh my goodness, they're asking for a lot, and I think they need to back off a little bit if they really want the situation to be resolved. Names like Fultz, Embiid, Hicks, Covington, Saric, Zaire. You hear these names bandied about, but the Spurs. It is what just baffles me. How can they not know that the team is not going to get equal value? Not going to get equal value for a guy like number 2 Kawhi Leonard. It's just impossible. Look at what happened last. Look what happened last season with LaMarcus Aldridge. Popovich straight up told him, "Hey, you want out of San Antonio? Fine. Give me Kevin Durant, and I'll get you on your way." Yeah, maybe it was tongue in cheek, but that should give you an idea of exactly what type of mindset you're dealing with when it comes to Popovich and Buford.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't blame Greg Popovich. We've dealt with this in Philadelphia. It takes forever to get a superstar in town. They have a top 5 talent. I can see why they don't want to get rid of him. Now, what kind of player is Kawhi Leonard? He sat out all year last year. Is he still that top 5 talent, or is he damaged goods at this point? What kind of player would the Sixers be getting?
Well, you're looking at a player who has a degenerative quad injury. So, yeah, I mean, he might be a little damaged goods. Depending on, how you look at this. He could simply just say, hey, I took a season off, and I'm fine. I'm good to go. But you got to be wondering, if you're Philadelphia, will this reportedly degenerative disease kick up again during the regular season? Yeah. Imagine if you give San Antonio what they want. Okay, their big haul that they're reportedly looking for.
Well, it's not going to be Embiid.
3 months into the season. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be Embiid. We know that.
It's not going to be Embiid, no.
But just can you imagine, though, you're right there in the playoff hunt, a few more games, and Kawhi says, you know what, my quad is acting up again. I got to take a few weeks off.
Yeah.
Hey, do you really want to run the risk of that?
That's what, yeah.
Now, he's not helping himself by not going out there, Philadelphia, what have you, and saying, okay, fine, I'm interested in the Sixers. Let's have a private workout. You can screen me. He's not even doing that.
Yeah.
So this is it's a bad situation all around. Everybody's going to lose at the end, except for whichever team nets him. And the Spurs are going to lose out. They're going to lose themselves a top 10 player. I debate people that if he's top 5. I could probably give you 5 guys that are better than him
Yeah.
right now. But you're already getting a top 8. How's that? I'll be kind.
Okay.
A top 8 guy.
Yeah, but that's what the
Yeah.
Sixers are in the
And,
market for. Now, you came out with a story yesterday about R.C. Buford and the Sixers potentially looking at him to hire as general manager. Now, what was his relationship with Kawhi? Is he part of this
R.C.
whole mess, or is that a Pop thing?
Yeah. Oh, yes. No. This is a front office mess, and it includes Buford. Now, look.
So that would
Buford
hurt the
is the
Sixers'
general manager.
chances.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Buford is the general manager. He's the guy who runs the roster. He puts this roster together. And if he really wanted to preserve the roster and make good with Kawhi, he could have squashed this earlier on too. He could have, he could have been in the mix to go and look for Kawhi Leonard in California.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about that.
No, you didn't.
You didn't hear anything about him doing his best to come out to the media, and talk about it. The closest you got to it was draft night, where his body was saying Kawhi's gone, but his mouth, his words were saying we're trying to do our best to keep him in silver and black.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is at a crossroads now. They're at a fork in the road, and that car is pulling to the right of he is gone.
Yeah.
For the Sixers, though, I think it is just a situation where everybody would win. Why? You got Brett Brown there. He's coming over the Spurs system. Who knows? So maybe he can continue helping Kawhi progress into a top 5 player. You have a young budding team. We got your trio there, Fultz and Embiid and Simmons. Adding Kawhi to that would just be wow. I think right now in the East, I liken it to an arms race right now if it comes to Kawhi, because if you guys or Boston gets him, I mean, my goodness,
Yeah.
conference over.
Boston
in my
would be
opinion.
the nightmare. Boston would be the nightmare. But let me get you out of here on this one, Jeff. Gut feeling, where does Kawhi Leonard suit up game 1 next year?
I think he's still a Spur.
Okay.
I think the Spurs are going to drag this out to the bitter end. I think that's unfortunate, but I think he'll likely start the season a Spur. He won't be on that bench, but
Wow.
At the end of the day, I think he will be dealt. Wouldn't be surprised if he's dealt right before the season starts. But my money on is that the Spurs are going to do everything that's possible to convince him to stay. Even Danny Green recently spoke about that, and he thinks that there's still a shot at repair of this relationship. So, but my money is on that he starts a Spur, but he doesn't end the season a Spur.
All right. Jeff Garcia, thank you so much for joining us. Follow him, Jeff G. Spurs Zone, and read him, News 4 San Antonio. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.
He is Phillies writer for 97.3 ESPN. You can read him. You can listen to him. He's Frank Close. What's up, Frank?
Hey, how are you, Brian?
Good, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, the Phillies. Did you expect the Phillies to be playing as well as they are right now?
Well, I was asked on the air really early in spring training what the high point possible outcome would be for this Phillies team. And at the time, I kind of said, well, if they sign Jake Arrieta and everything else seems to work out, I had them at 86 wins, which, of course, is just a little bit under the current pace if you were going to look at the numbers. I think that a lot now depends on what the Phillies add. I think they could still end up at about 86 with the pieces they have, but, adding a piece or two could be the difference of 2 to 3 games. And you know what? When you're in the 86 range, that's enough to make the playoffs if you add those wins. So I thought that maybe there's a shot that that the Mets would fall apart and that the Marlins would be the Marlins. And the one thing I did not necessarily pick were the Braves playing this well too. So, the Phillies struggled a little bit against the Braves early on, and if they could have a few of those wins back, what a difference that would be. But this is baseball, as they say. You can't predict ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And Frank, where do you think they need to add the number one area? Is it bullpen? Is it they need to add a bat or starting pitching? What area do you think that Matt Klentak needs to address first?
I think they need a bat. Now, I think they're winning a lot of one-run games, which of course is kind of a testament to the entire team as a team that they're able to eke out a lot of those one-run wins. I think they need to create some separation between them and some of the opponents that they face so that it's not a one-run game, that there's a little bit more breathing room. The bullpen, I would say, yeah, pick up a piece, absolutely. But I think first and foremost, they need an impact bat that's going to give them consistency because, as we've seen throughout the year, Carlos Santana's been pretty good, kind of under the radar since April. And then Odubel Herrera was fantastic till the third week of May, where he was batting .358, and he's kind of fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
You kind of expect Odubel Herrera to get it back because he's had these stretches before. But you want somebody in there that's going to be good all the time.
Yes.
And if you can get a bat like that, that will make a huge difference in this team.
Consistency in the lineup is their biggest issue. I mean, they go hot and cold too often. Franco Herrera. Now, let's start with the big fish, Manny Machado. Why will the Phillies make a move for Machado, and why won't they?
So why they would? Now, very interestingly, for all the times we've heard the words unlikely, and we've heard that they're out, quote unquote. John Heyman today was saying that Manny Machado remains a top target for the Phillies. Well, one reason why you would, and this is kind of in contrast to what a lot of people have been saying, like, well, they're not World Series contenders yet, so you don't get them. One, they're getting outstanding pitching from Aaron Nola. You want to strike while the iron's hot, right? Why would you want to throw away the type of performance you're getting from Aaron Nola right now, just because you're kind of ahead of schedule? You know what? The Phillies have a real shot at this, so they might as well go for it. All right, and you can't take anything for granted, right? So Aaron Nola can bust his arm in spring training next year, and then you're down an amazing rotation piece. So I don't want to count on tomorrow.
Yeah, and Zach Eflin too. You don't know if you're going to get this kind of performance from Eflin next year either.
Right, ride the iron while it's hot. And if you let Manny Machado get to another team, they will have an exclusive negotiating window that the Phillies won't have. And if you're saying, well, if you wait till he's a free agent, you can just sign him. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's still a chance that he never makes it there, right? If he gets traded to a team that has the same amount of money the Phillies have to spend,
the Yankees,
and he really likes, the Yankees. I'm thinking particularly if he really likes it there, then you know what, he might sign. And maybe the Phillies never actually get the opportunity to sit at the table. So that's why you do it. Why you don't do it is you're afraid to give up some of your prospects. I think that the Phillies, though, they can leave certain names off the table, but they can include other names. And they have enough to do what it takes to get him. Now, Eduardo Encina of the Baltimore Sun says that the Phillies have made an offer for Machado, and so have other teams. And they kind of said that all those teams are kind of in the same ballpark. I think that's a public way of saying, all right, whichever one of you steps up with something extra, you might be the one who gets them. So the Phillies can do it. Okay,
Yes,
so I think that's pretty clear that they could do it. But if they're that afraid of the prospects, that's why they wouldn't do it.
But at the end of the day, all they are prospects, and the Phillies only have 3 prospects in the top 100 and 1 in the top 50. So it's not like, at the end of the day, what are they really giving up here for Machado, a top 10 player in the league?
And you know what? There's one thing that a lot of people aren't considering right now is that if you trade for Machado now, and you actually do sign him next year, if you sign him next year, you're giving up your first-round pick. All right? Here,
that's a
they
good
keep
point.
the first-round pick. So you need to consider that they're actually kind of coming out ahead 1 first-round draft pick in all of this. Now, they might find somebody else and still give up the pick later, but then they sign somebody else too. So it's very interesting to think of it that way, and I don't think anybody else has really said that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. That actually helps the argument.
Yeah, and they're not going to be one of those bottom 10 teams this year that's going to have a protected first-round pick. You know, so this year they had the protected first-round pick, so it was a lot easier to say, okay, second round for Carlos Santana, third round goes to sign Jake Arrieta. Next year they might be in a situation where they have their first-round pick and Manny Machado's with them.
I want to throw one other thing at you here, too, the attendance. And for some reason, the fans, at least all the fans, haven't connected with this team yet. Wouldn't you think a guy like Manny Machado would really, get everybody's attention? The Eagles just won the Super Bowl. The Sixers just won 52 games. They're fighting for attention and the dollar. Don't you think a guy like Manny Machado would really start getting people back to the ballpark, plus a winning product?
Absolutely. I think they just need a jolt. I mean, I kind of remember back in like 2005, 2006 is kind of what I'm seeing right around now. Me as a Phillies fan back then, a lot of people knew I liked the Phillies, and but they were starting to get a little interested, and they were the ones who reached out to me and said, "Hey, you like the Phillies? How about we go to a game?" Well, a lot of them were like all in like 2008 and 9, and that same kind of thing's happening, right? We forget how long ago that was. I mean, the generation that are in their mid-20s right now, they were 12 years old last time that was happening, and this is the first time in their adulthood that they had money to be able to go buy tickets, right?
Yeah.
So we need to get those fans on board if you're the Phillies, looking to sort of market this team to another generation, because 12 years is a long time, right? So,
yeah, I mean,
so you've got this whole new generation with their own money that hasn't been used to winning Phillies baseball, and finding the Phillies getting Machado will make a big difference in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, and you're at 97.3. You hear all the time what the fans are talking about, and it hasn't really been the Phillies. It's been the Sixers or the Eagles. I mean, and so I think the Phillies do need that jolt. Gut feeling, do the Phillies land Manny Machado? And if not Manny Machado, who do they land?
I was actually thinking about this earlier because I actually happen to be in Baltimore at the moment. Phillies are here Thursday. I'm here a little ahead of the game. And, just walking around, I'm just like, I was thinking back to Jake Arrieta and all the times that we heard how unlikely it was they would sign him, or the Phillies would not pay or not go the years. And what do you know, Jake Arrieta is a Philly. I mean, I think this report from Heyman today, even after I was kind of thinking, my gut says the Phillies are perhaps in this a little bit more than we think or that we've heard. But that's just sort of my gut feeling. I have no inside information. Whether they land him, I don't know, but I think they're trying more than they like to let on.
Hey, that's all. I like to hear that because I really want them to go for Machado. I think this is a huge opportunity to win some fans back and get into the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. Follow him at Frank Close and read him at 97.3 ESPN. Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brian.